Hello, film fans. This is the UK Festival podcast. I am your host, Tim, and today we're talking with Lachie Athie Gordon, one of the co-founders of the absolutely magical Noisily Festival. Located in Leicestershire, Noisily is the archetypical dance party in the woods and is very special to me. I first met a load of my friends there, and you guys were the first event to ever give me a press pass. Now, can you tell me, in this negative world, what inspired you to believe that you could actually put a festival on?
Well, it's funny. We were just speaking off air about Freddie Fellows from the Secret Garden Party, and that's where I started my festival career. Was working for Freddie almost 15 years ago at the Secret Garden Party, and I was very inspired by, SGP, but all of the other amazing events that I was going to around that time, Glade and others, and I was just excited to be able to create something as magical as they had for me. And so, I think I've always seen it as a very positive force in the world. These kinds of festivals, and I was inspired to be part of that.
What was the opportunity that made you think that, no, I can do Noisily?
I think it was always just a kind of give it a go attitude, really. I enjoyed it. The opportunity came along to work with my now great friend Will, who's my co-founder, and he had a farm and where we could do the event, and so it was just something which I didn't even think twice about.
So how did you get into the world of events? Was your first festivals SGP, or were you going to festivals before then?
I was going to festivals before Secret Garden Party. I think I went to a few, but Glade was the one which really kind of made its mark on me and really, really kind of stood out for me as a very transformational event, I would say. So yeah, I was going to a few, but Glade really, really was what kind of made it, made
What
its
was
impact
it?
on me.
What was it that made Glade so special for you?
I don't know, just an amazing atmosphere of people who were just there to just to like get on with each other and have fun and not just it's just like a great family connected friendly crowd. I couldn't tell you, I was just having too much fun. And it's just an incredible vibe. It was an incredible vibe.
No, the best festivals are like that. You can't tell why it's brilliant until like
Mm,
well after you're done.
yeah.
So what was the first Noisily like? Were there any memorable disasters?
Absolutely. Many. I mean, the whole thing was a mess. I mean, it was obviously awesome, but it was I mean, I think it was the least sleep I've had in a week long period in my life for sure. And I mean, there weren't we massively over-spec'd it, like the production in terms of the amount of people were there, and so we had to close one of the stages. And I mean, when we were like on the very beginning, we said, we were like, right, the gates open, and people started coming, and we suddenly realized that whilst we said that the gate was officially open, there was actually no physical way of entering the woods because there was a fence in the way. So we completely failed to even find a way for people to walk into the woods.
That's ridiculous. So you had a fence around the whole of the Noisily
Yeah,
Woods.
it was literally, we didn't have actually much, like festival fencing, like Harris fencing. It was
Mm.
literally just like the wooden farm fence, which was
Mm.
between our gate and the rest of the festival.
Did you take a bit down quickly with a screwdriver, or did you
That's exactly what we did.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how big was it? How many people attended?
I think we probably had about 500 people. But I mean, for the first few years, we had no idea who was there either because we didn't really, we just didn't have close enough tabs on the gate and all of that. So, but about 500, I reckon.
And it's grown a lot since then. You're many thousands now, aren't you?
Yeah. So we're around 4,000. It sort of fluctuates between four and five. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels almost bigger when you're there. Is that counting crew or not?
Not counting crew, no tickets.
Ah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So you're more like 6, 7 on site.
Yeah, sure, something like that, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So, who is your core team? How many people are involved?
Wow, I mean, there are so many different people involved. Our core team, it's hard to say what the core is. We have so many committed people who work on it year round, some full time, some part time. Um, like, I don't know, there's probably 20, 30 people who work on it year round, maybe
Oh,
a few
wow.
more. And of course, not full time, yeah, who are in on the general production and lineup and all of those different things. And then of course that expands exponentially when we start getting closer to the event. But the core team, there's the three of us who are the original founders who are mainly involved now, or rather, there are 5 founders, but 3 of us are mainly involved now, with the others still being involved in some smaller roles. And then, yeah, many others in the arts department, bookings, production. Yeah.
So, what would you say is the biggest change you made to the festival since you started?
Well, moving site. I think that's maybe one of your other questions later on
Yeah,
in this, but
yeah,
that's really the biggest change that stands out. Um, and that was a huge challenge last year.
mm,
I think we pulled it off. It's there's a lot of chat from the long-term attendees who came and who were definitely nervous, almost kind of didn't want to like it because Coney Woods, our
yeah,
previous site, has such a special place in everyone's heart.
mm,
But when it came down to it, it is such a wonderful location, incredible feel to it, all the woodland there, and we do like we miss and we don't miss the vertical hills, the steps, the zero space to fit any tents.
yeah.
It was always a fantastic challenge in Coney Woods, our previous site, but the new site really just gives us space to breathe, to be creative, and to really spread our wings. So yeah, it was a huge change. I can't say that I wasn't worried myself,
Mm.
but we really seemed to pull it off, and it worked well. And yeah, it really. So I think also jumping ahead some of your future questions as well about the production and what's happening this year. The being flat has just allowed us to really, as I said, expand some of the stuff we're doing. And the Noisily stage is going to be enormous this year. We're really expanding it. I've been looking at some of the renders this morning, and it's going to be epic. And it just wouldn't have been possible in our previous site at all. So yeah, so it's been a really positive change.
So, was finding the new site a challenge, or was it fairly easy to just get it all
It
arranged?
was. It was a huge challenge. It was a lot of time spent by Will and I tramping around the country, looking at different locations, calling a lot of people. Yeah, it was pretty challenging. So we're really grateful to have found this new spot because yeah, it couldn't have been more perfect. I mean, it's also only like half an hour from our previous site. I mean, we really lucked out.
Yeah, so could Noisily have potentially moved like all the way to Bristol or something if you had found a
Yeah,
site
it
down
was
that
on the
way?
cards. It was on the cards. We went down the line in a few different locations further south, and yeah. So yeah, there were a few spots which we looked at, but this one worked out perfectly.
So while the new site was really good, there were a couple of snags I found last year.
Sure.
First of all, mud. There was a lot of mud.
Yeah.
I mean, with the rain we had last year, that was kind of unavoidable, but there was a lot of mud. Do we have any plans to tackle the mud? And second,
A lot of mud you said there.
second bleed, sound bleed. There was a
Sure.
fair amount of sound bleed, particularly in the bits where I felt like it was probably supposed to be quiet, like the art installations, particularly in the
Mm.
further flung bits of the wood. They had a lot of like the drum and bass and the house pounding over the bass line into it, and I know that's to an extent unavoidable, but when you've got like, you know, a tree that's singing to you, it sort of impacts the impact of it, you know?
Sure. Yeah,
Have you
of
got any
course.
plans to resolve either of those problems?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so the mud thing. I mean, I'll start by saying we are in England. There's an inevitability to have some mud if it rains. That said, we have been doing quite a lot of groundworks this year, putting in quite a few new culverts and extra gravel, etc., in those locations where we learned where we found there was a lot of mud. Um, and just generally more contingency of wood chip and hay, etc. So yeah, in the key areas where it was really impactful, we've made some changes already, and yeah, we continue to expand the ability to deal with it as well if it happens. The sound bleed thing, yeah, I mean, look, it was a learning experience for us last year, inevitably, and uh, we do our best. It's always a balance, keeping a really nicely compact, experience rich area, where it's not too spread out, but keeping that vibe well, like, integrated. And there were some places, like you say, with some art pieces, etc., which could be a little bit more spread out and a bit further away from the main dance floors. So yeah, absolutely, it was a learning experience for us, and placement of things like that will be really improved, I'm sure, this year. Again, we had 10 years to get to know all of the different little nooks and crannies of Coney Woods, and luckily now, with a lot more experience, I think we'll be learning a lot faster with this one.
Yeah, no, I mean it is always a learning process, and festival site design is
Totally, yeah.
compromise. Everything is a compromise always. But
Sure.
like I'm glad to hear that you're working on achieving those goals.
No,
So
absolutely.
what would you suggest to any smaller festivals looking to scale themselves up to something more like Noisily, looking to get into like the medium game?
Um, I would advise to buckle up. It's a hell of a ride, taking an event like that through that stage. Very challenging when you're doing something for the love of it. It's a very it's a kind of almost like it's this balance where you don't want to over commercialize. You don't want to give up on those principles which make the event what it is, but then finding that way to make it work financially, which is of course so important. So yeah, I don't know. I just would advise to really just keep at it, and yeah, be tenacious, because it's challenging.
I mean, that's very good
but
advice for most things.
but when it comes down to it as well, it's we're still here. We're still here 12 years later, and the reason we're still here is because what we've created is a family, and it's like some of my best mates are people who I've become very close to through this process. Will is the godfather to Will's son, and like, these relationships are lifelong, and they are incredibly rich and deep because of the things that we've gone through with this kind of thing. So I think, as well as that, it's just it's an incredibly yeah, it's a very joyful and uh, fantastic thing to be able to do something like that for the love and with the people that you love. So yeah, I think that as long as you've got that, then you can weather all these storms. So yeah.
One of the things I often hear when I talk to my friends who crew a lot of festivals, they all absolutely love working at Noisily. It's probably their favourite festival to work at. They think you guys treat them better than anyone else in the industry. They love you so much. So
Right.
what's your secret to like avoiding the chaos and keeping your crew so happy?
I think we just, like as I was just saying, it's like these are family, and we're all there, and they're there because we all create together something amazing. And I always say it's like the what we've created is so much the sum of all the parts. Like it's like all of the amazing things that happen there because these amazing people are doing something that they love. And I think it's just about really nurturing that and being a platform for people to do what they want to do, and listening to people and listening to what they say each year, and listening to how we can improve and doing our best to improve those things, because like we don't the reality is we can't we're not a massive commercial festival who pays everyone exactly what they need and what they want every year. Like that's just not what we are. And so we do our very best to compromise for that with just listening and trying to improve, and improving each year, I think.
So one of the key strengths of Noisily is its incredible community. I remember seeing a sign on the gate last year. It said, "Only tell the good ones." Like, how do you maintain this community and stop it going to shit, really?
I mean, I think a lot of it's been slow, considered growth, and that's really allowed a lot of people, most people who come, have come through recommendation, through being invited by their friends already. So it's a really, it came from friends of friends of friends of ours. Like that was the progression from that, and I think that remains, and that allows for those who haven't come through that method to be like easily absorbed and get the vibe, and just not just immediately get the vibe and what it's about. So yeah, I think that's the main way that we've got there, I would say. Yeah, that's it.
Have you got any advice for someone attending their first Noisily who's maybe been to like Leeds or Boomtown but never to an indie event?
Leave your phone in your tent and get stuck in. Yeah,
So,
make friends, meet new people.
your bars, they don't do very good business, do they?
What makes you say that?
Well, I didn't see very long queues there last year. No one seemed very drunk. Lots of water being given out.
Indeed. We do all right. We do all right. I think they're well managed bars now, and so the queues are just or the lack of queues are a symptom of being well run, I would say. We probably do less well than larger events per capita, per person, whatever. But it's one of our income streams, which is helpful for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a moment which encapsulates the festival for you?
So I think it's got to be the B stage. I don't know if you were there that year, but there was a beehive which was found halfway up the stairs of the sort of the leaving the site. I don't know. So you went to Coney Woods. You went to the previous site as well.
I've been to the previous site, yes.
Yeah. So there was those long steps on the way out of the forest, which everyone had to leave at the end of the night. And there was a beehive there, and so we cordoned it off so that people didn't get in the way and upset the bees. and someone, have no idea who it was, like added a little a piece of paper and taped it onto the tree and wrote in a Sharpie the bee stage, and then like everyone going past was writing bee puns, being like, line up the Bee Gees, like all these different, I can't remember the different puns now, but like various bee puns. And it just really, like, for me, encapsulated the like silly, collaborative, participatory nature of people who go to Noisily.
Yeah. Yeah, Noisily is really playful compared to basically all festivals I've been to. Like Secret Garden Party is maybe the only one I could compare it to on that
Sure.
level.
Yeah.
And so one thing I was going to ask is you've got a lot of circus at Noisily compared to almost anywhere else. It's quite a lot of fun. Was that originally like part of the plan, or did it just evolve with the
Yeah, it
festival
really
proper,
evolved. Sorry.
evolve with the rest of the festival?
Yeah, it evolved like everything else. There was we've always wanted to be a more than just a music festival. We've always,
Mm,
like, our name is Noisily Festival of Music and Arts, right? It's
mm,
not just a music festival. And we we had some performance from the beginning, yeah, it's always been a big part. It's just grown naturally, and I think it's just a for us, it's just like an important part of that plethora of excitement and entertainment which Noisily stands for. And again, the performers who come and get involved, they're there because they love doing it and they love
mm.
performing, for creating new ideas for their friends and community and family. And so that's, I think, like, we've got, for our size, I think, a like, one of the larger and more impressive performance program than most, and that's just because, like, those people who do it just put their all into it and they just love it. Yeah.
Well, even beyond the people performing who are like professionally trained and very, very good. Like that's the thing about one of the things I would say about Noisily, the quality of the performers is better on average than pretty much anywhere else I've been.
Mm.
But even beyond the like highly skilled the fire performers and stuff, just people in the crowd. Like you'll see so many flow sticks, so many poi, so many toys. Just everyone is playing with them. It's
Yeah.
a lot more than anywhere else, and I just like that a lot. I think it's a lot of fun.
Sure.
Have you indulged in it before, like flow toys?
I juggled for a while. Yeah. I did have some fire, whatever they're called, battens, or whatever. So yeah, I did a bit. Never poi. Poi has never particularly tickled me for some reason.
I just have the feeling with poi, right? You'll hit yourself in the face.
Yeah, exactly. Inevitably, or worse, they get tangled up and then you get right in the nuts.
Oh. Do you have a favorite kind of dance music? Like, what's your favorite stage at Noisily?
I think that techno is my favorite. I that's where I always end up.
Mm.
Um, but I love it all. Drum and bass is where my heart is, or where it all started for me.
Hmm.
Where that was what really got me into electronic music, into the party scene. I DJ drum and bass on vinyl for a long time. And so that's like where my heart is. And then psytrance, like that really got me into just the more, like, just pure euphoria of just being on a dance
Mm.
floor, connected to everyone in the crowd. And so that, like, for me, has been some of my more like awesome dance music, like, experiences at places
Mm.
like Boom. And so, but techno is now what really just keeps me going. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the liquid stage is one of my favorite stages in the entire
Yeah,
country for like connecting to everyone around me and just feeling
exactly.
just generally
Yeah,
loved. It's really,
exactly.
really sweet.
Loved and safe, and you just lose yourself. Yeah.
Mm, mm. So, you know the you're on a new site. Last year you had plans for expansion, which sadly couldn't go ahead. Um, are there ever do you have hopes to resurrect those, or maybe do it in a slightly different way?
Yeah, I think that we might do it in a different way. Um, I think I think never say never. Um, it's I think our focus is on consolidating what we've got and what there is now. Um,
Yeah.
and so I don't think in the very near future we'll be going into the live music side of things, which was what I think you were
Mm.
referring to.
Well, actually,
Live
I was
electronic
more
music.
referring to the down tempo side.
Right. Well, so we've got
You've got the
yeah,
Nook.
I mean I think so we've got the Nook, and I think that we will be looking to expand that. I
Mm.
think adding new stages like we were looking at the live electronic side of things, which is what we had to
Mm.
cancel a couple of years
Yeah.
ago during the COVID mess or after the COVID mess, whatever. Um,
Mm.
uh, so yeah, that's sort of not quite on the cards, on the back burner for the moment. The Nook definitely we want to expand the offering there. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah. No, especially with Anthropos taking a year off, we desperately need somewhere for our side hub.
yeah, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so being entirely DJs and producers, you must have a much easier time with the production than having to put bands on everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're right. That's a reality. It does simplify things. There's a whole other level of complexity when you start doing the live stuff. Um,
Because you do
uh,
some live stuff in Mind, Body, Soul, don't you?
yes, we do, but it's pretty uh, yeah, it's just a bit simpler. It's not
Mm.
like getting these big bands on and off very quickly, and um, so yeah, yeah, it's like it's kind of one of those things. Um, it works well for us. It's also the music that we cater to, that we provide, generally is mainly like focused on DJ performance anyway. So yeah, the reasoning is kind of twofold. It does add complexity, and it also is not necessarily that different to what we already do, if you see what I mean. So
Mm.
yeah.
Did you want it to be like this from the start, or was this like like a convenience thing?
You mean the not live music thing, or the
Not live
less live
music
music
thing,
thing?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, again, I think it's I think that we always this is where we're really comfortable, like it's where our
Mm.
crowds sit well, it's all of those things. So it's not conveniencing. We wouldn't write it off, but it kind of it's hard to justify that it's going to really add to the whole thing that
Yeah.
much more. It's of course it would be an amazing addition, but with the complexities as well, it's one of those things. But as we grow, as we grow and we grow in confidence, and as we grow in uh, capacity in terms of like the team's capacity, then never say never.
If someone was interested in collaborating with you and bringing a live music stage to Noisily, would you be potentially keen on that, or not something that you want to do?
Yeah, we're always interested in collaborations. It's yeah, always worth the discussion. Yeah, as I said before, for us it's all about acting as a platform for others. So if there's
Mm.
someone who we can work with well, and who we can foster their creativity in a venture like that, then yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking about fostering a platform, who's your personal highlight for the 2024 lineup?
Ooh, I think um, Mira again.
Mm.
We've had her before, and she's fantastic. And she's coming with Chris, I believe, who she does her um, uh, um, she plays with. Um, Probably her on the Noisily stage. Perhaps Pan Pot for something a bit heavier. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to be excited about. I was just actually looking. We're releasing an app next week,
Ooh.
and I was just looking at all the delicious lineup that we've got. I've become a little bit less involved in that side of things now. Working on a few other things, so some of it was an exciting, like not surprise because I knew they'd been booked. I was like, oh wow, I forgot that we'd booked those. Oh yeah, Camo and Crooked from my drum and bass days. They're epic. I'm excited about seeing them.
So, what exactly does your role consist of at the festival now?
Yeah, sure. So I am acting now. So maybe I'll explain where I was and where I've got to now. I was the main sort of production manager of the event, overseeing all of the various different aspects of it, from the production through to the artists, etc., and really facilitating the whole thing. And I started stepping back from that from around 2017 as I started getting involved in a few other things. And I've been slowly moving back bit by bit as my business partner Will takes on more. In the last couple of years, he's been pretty much entirely running the event, maybe longer, 2-3 years now. There's some confusing years during COVID. And my role is essentially advisory to Will. We check in we check in every week and sign off things like budgets and artist lineups and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm now in a more advisory role.
So, what do you find yourself doing on the weekend?
What do I find myself doing on the weekend?
Yeah.
So I now have a baby and I live in Kenya. So hanging out with my baby.
So you won't be flying. You will not be flying back for the festival.
You mean during the festival?
Yes.
I wondered what you meant. I thought that was a strange question.
Yeah.
You meant every weekend.
Yeah.
So during the festival, I will be managing the event for 24 hours. So each of the three who I mentioned, who are still more involved, the original founders, we take a 24-hour shift where we manage the event. That's very much a kind of dealing with anything, like any decisions which need to be made, any particular crisis. And with the rest of the team really running the event itself. And then the rest of it, I will be bouncing around like everyone else, enjoying the music, probably quite a lot of time on the Noisily stage. It's where a lot of my friends end up. So but yeah, just, running around, trying to do everything at the same time, doing some of the Mind Body Soul stuff. My wife, Heather, is organizing the Mind Body Soul this year. With Helly, who normally does it. She's taking a break. She's just had another baby. So I know there's going to be lots of awesome stuff happening there this year as well. So I'll do my best to drag myself away from the dance floor and enjoy some of that as well. Yeah, it's always a tough one. My natural environment is stomping in the front right. So I struggle, but then when I get to the Mind Body Soul, I'm there having a lot of fun.
You're a front right person?
Yeah.
Appalling. Front left gang. Oh. Yeah. So I don't know. All of my mates are front left. Everyone I'm associated with is front left. I guess some people have to be at front right, but I don't know them.
Someone's got to be there. Yeah, I don't know. It's something about this, I wouldn't say I was a front left person, but something about the new Noisily stage. That's where we've ended up. Don't ask me why.
So, do you think there's any chance of the festival making a profit in the next, I don't know, 10 years?
Yes, yes, I hope so. It's, the reality is it is not like we can't do it without making money forever. As I've mentioned, we're all starting to have kids, and priorities need to adjust. They do not change because doing this event is a huge part of our of who we are, and we will continue to do it for the love. But it has to make money, and I mean, it does just about. But of course, it's a fickle business, and so it's up and down.
Yeah.
But yes, I believe, and I'm sure that we're gonna make it consistent, and we're going to make it sustainable, because what that means is that Noisily can carry on for the next decades to come, and without making money. The reality is it can't. It can do that for a bit, but it can't do it forever. So
No, unless
well,
you
we
can
intend on doing it
constantly,
well, and that means making some money.
get people to pour their lives, souls, and savings into it, you're not gonna keep a festival going like that forever.
No, and that's not it's not viable forever. We've done it for 12 years, and we can't do it forever. Not sustainable.
Is there anyone who's done anything above and beyond for the festival that you'd really like to thank?
There's so many different people. I think I couldn't start because I'll forget people.
Okay.
But there's just like all the different people who are popping into my head, all of the smiling faces, who we see every year, who are just grafting the whole time during the event, after, all of the people who run the venues, who run the stage managers, who do the artwork, to do it's just, there are just too many people to even start.
Well, thank
Sounds
you
like a
so much.
cop out. Seriously, I don't know where I'd start.
Well, thanks so much for talking to me. This has been absolutely brilliant. It seems like the meeting's perfectly timed. I've got one question left, but I don't know if I want to hassle you for the extra one, if you don't mind.
Let's do it.
All right. Has anyone been an absolute nightmare for you guys?
Yes, but I'm not going to start naming them. That wouldn't be cool, but of course, yeah. Over the years, there's been some real, challenging people.